price of video games being such a wondrous, fluid art form is that when things go wrong, they can go really wrong in a uniquely spectacular, even interactive way which gamers won't ever forget. I'm Tom from FGS, and from pitiful gameplay to corny storytelling and devastatingly cringe-worthy industry gaffes, we've never felt more embarrassed to play games than during these moments. But I can't shoulder all this embarrassment alone, so I've roped in Cosmic Mouse, who commented on last week's video, to help me out with a suggestion. If you have any ideas for next week's video on hidden games in other games, then jump into the comments below. But for now, pull up your big boy pants and step with me into a world of embarrassment. Number 10. Elise kisses Sonic, Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Right, let's kick things off with a doozy. The pure eyesore that is 2006's Sonic the Hedgehog and its unexpected divergence into interspecies erotica. After Sonic is killed near the end of the game, he's resurrected thanks to the Chaos Emeralds, and to put a needlessly gross cherry on top, he's also smooched passionately on the lips by Princess Elise, who, to be clear, is a human woman. Even if you can ignore the fact that Sonic is unconscious throughout all of this and can't consent to the kiss, and you really shouldn't ignore that bit, is there a single, solitary Sonic fan out there who ever wanted to see him making out with a woman? Actually, scratch that, we know the answer is yes, but for the overwhelming majority of the sane fandom, this was a skin-crawlingly bizarre creative decision. If anyone, a partner or relative, ever walked in on you during this scene, there was no explaining it away. You were an instant deviant, you're disgusting, get out of here, no, not in my house. At least the fan blowback was vitriolic enough that Sega publicly promised to never have another human kiss Sonic again. So I'm definitely not going to go see Sonic 3 because I had money on James Marsden kissing him in that film. Number 9. Atlantica, Kingdom Hearts 2. The Little Mermaid-inspired world of Atlantica and Kingdom Hearts wasn't exactly a barrel of fun the first time around, with its clunky navigation and swimming mechanics, but the sequel doubled down by making it as bewilderingly corny as possible, effectively a collection of musical rhythm minigames haphazardly strung together. Atlantica in Kingdom Hearts 2 is every theatre kid's dream come true, and everyone else's most grating nightmare. From the infuriatingly repetitive new songs to the tedium of the too easy minigames, this whole world feels like a cutting room floor material that accidentally made its way into the game proper. In the very least, Atlantica is entirely optional in the second game, so you're not obliged to put yourself through it, even if it's tough not to feel like The Little Mermaid deserved so much better than this mortifying absolute nonsense. Number 8. Do you guys not have phones? Diablo Immortal. So this week we've taken the community comment entry from Cosmic Mouse. Now over the years Activision Blizzard have had their fair share of embarrassing moments, but this one was so bad at their own convention in front of a huge room of diehard fans that they were booed, and everyone there was praying that this was a terrible practical joke. So at BlizzCon 2018, where everyone expected Blizzard to drop a bombshell that was Diablo 4, what no one saw coming, and not in a good way, was a whole new Diablo game called Diablo Immortal. But here's the kicker. It was a mobile-only game, and no one, literally no one in that audience asked for it. Cue confusion, disbelief, and the Diablo fans clinging to any shred of hope that they could until they got to ask the devs questions in the following Q&A. A well-known figure in the Diablo community called Lord Fluffy got to the mic to ask delicately, almost pleadingly, if Diablo Immortal would be coming to PC. Wyatt Cheng, the guy tasked with breaking the news, probably didn't realize he was going to go down in meme history when he informed everyone that it would be mobile only. Cue boos from around the entire theater, and then Wyatt retorted,
"Do you guys not have phones?"
While the boos and grumbles from the audience were still ringing out and the devs were reeling from the realization that they had made a huge mistake, the next question sums up the mood in the room entirely.
This an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
Because it had to be, right? No, just no. Now, if you listen closely, you can still hear the collective eye roll from every Diablo fan in attendance. The audience were not impressed. Booing at BlizzCon, yep, that actually happened. They wanted Diablo 4 and got a game that, to be blunt, felt like a slap in the face. The fans were fuming, the internet was on fire, and memes started flying around like treasure goblins. It was like your nan throwing you a birthday party and telling you she'd got you the next generation gaming console for you to open up the box and realize she'd been scammed into buying an old Stadia. Now, here's the plot twist. Diablo Immortal launched in 2022, and while everyone kept yelling into the void about microtransactions, the game made an absolute killing. Seriously, over $100 million in its first 2 months. So who's laughing now? Blizzard, it turns out, with their giant sacks of cash. Sure, the diehard fans still weren't thrilled, but apparently a lot of people have no issue spending their hard-earned money on mobile loot boxes. And the moral of the story, you can be memed into oblivion and have the most embarrassing time at any convention ever and still get paid millions, proving once again that sometimes the people booing the loudest still end up playing the game on the phones that they own. Number 7, the 2011 PlayStation Network outage. One of the all-time most embarrassing moments in the history of gaming industry occurred in the spring of 2011, when Sony's PlayStation Network was subject to an attack, resulting in personal data from 77 million accounts being compromised and forcing Sony to take PSN offline for a jaw-dropping 24 days. Sony was rightly raked over the coals for taking almost a week after the hack to warn users that their data had been exposed, as players, tech analysts, and governments the world over questioned the quality of Sony's tech security. In the UK, Sony were even fined £250,000 for the data breach. While it's not uncommon for services such as PSN and Xbox Live to have server outages lasting a few hours, for PSN to be unusable for almost an entire month was a colossal PR blunder for Sony that ultimately cost them an eye-watering $171 million. Ouch. Number 6. Quiet writhing in the rain, Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Hideo Kojima has given the gaming world so many unforgettable moments, though they're sadly not all for the better. Case in point, we have Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, and the curious case of the scantily clad support character, Quiet. Those who achieve 100% bond with Claire and return to Mother Base while it's raining will be treated to a cutscene in which she strips down to her, leaving little to the imagination underwear and dances suggestively in the rain, complete with some of the most invasive, probing camera angles this side of a colonoscopy. After decades of hyper-sexualized female characters in video games intended to appeal largely to horny teenage boys, this seemed embarrassingly out of touch in 2015. And Kojima was adamant that fans would feel ashamed of their words and deeds about Quiet once they knew the real reason for her state of undress, which turned out to be that she breathed through her skin, and that's why she needed to wear so few clothes. That didn't exactly persuade most players that weren't going through puberty at the time, and all the adults in the room are still waiting for Hideo to feel that shame. Any day now, Kojima. Just realize you messed up. Number 5. The Mario and Zelda CDI games. Through the mid-1990s, Nintendo allowed Philips to create Mario and Zelda games for their short-lived CDI hardware. And let's just say there was good reason that Nintendo flatly refuses to acknowledge those titles exist. The 4 released games, Hotel Mario, Link: The Faces of Evil, Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon, and Zelda's Adventure, were firmly criticized for their simplistic gameplay, but became infamous because of the brand-damagingly uncanny animated cutscenes included in each game. Now, these cutscenes, reportedly outsourced to a Russian animation firm, resembled lo-fi Microsoft Paint renders, and are so fascinatingly awful as to almost overpower the sheer red-faced embarrassment factor. Almost! Given how famously protective Nintendo is of their first-party brands, it's genuinely baffling they ever let something so tawdry out of the front door. It's so inept it makes the 1993 live-action Super Mario Bros. Movie seem genuinely competent by comparison. But for purveyors of artistic car crashes, the CDI cutscenes are thankfully lovingly archived online by fans, so go check them out. Mwah! Such a treat. Number 4. John Romero is about to make you his bitch. In the grand pantheon of groan-worthy, eye-roll-inducing video game marketing campaigns, the crowned king must surely be John Romero's hubristic, off-puttingly edgy push for his 2000 first-person shooter Daikatana. The FPS was widely anticipated as Romero's lavish follow-up to the likes of Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake, and the marketing campaign kicked off in 1997 with a poster which boldly promised John Romero's about to make you his bitch. Though the intent was clearly to be provocative and stimulate interest in the game, it backfired spectacularly, as even observers of the late 90s found the tagline tiresomely try-hard. Daikatana quickly became a punching bag among the global gaming press, and its many delays certainly didn't help. That it finally released to critical scorn and poor sales only furthered the perception that Daikatana was a project brought to life by an overconfident Rockstar developer who thought he could do no wrong. Over a quarter of a decade later, it remains the go-to example of overzealous, ill-conceived marketing, dooming a game from the jump. Dooming the game. Screw it. Go to the next one. It's Devil May Cry. Number 3. Dante's voice crack in Devil May Cry. Here's an epically cringe-worthy voice acting moment you'll probably have to watch through splayed fingers with earplugs in just to get through it. Near the end of the original Devil May Cry, a devastated Dante solemnly cradles Trish's lifeless body, spoiler, before spitting the immortal quip, "I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light." Wink wink. Except Dante's voice unfortunately cracked just as he says light, lending an air of unintentional comedy to what's supposed to be one of the game's few genuinely serious, mournful moments. Surprisingly, Capcom even decided to make the moment worse by having the voice crack echo numerous times in the vicinity, because, in for a penny, in for a pound apparently.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
Now, to be fair, there are those who genuinely adore this moment as a slice of pure, uncut DMC cheese. But for many, the secondhand embarrassment aggressively cancels out any entertainment value. Number 2, Konami's unhinged E3 2010 presser. Long live E3, which for the better part of 3 decades was reliably ground zero for the gaming industry's most toe-curlingly unwatchable moments. It was fantastic. And the peak of E3 cringe came during Konami's 2010 presser. That is to say, the entire 100-minute show is a car crash of thermonuclear embarrassment. Where to even begin? There's the laughably no-budget stage, bewilderingly bizarre behavior of producer Tak Fuji, surprise bombardment of lucha libre wrestlers on stage to promote a wrestling game, and the awkwardly unengaged crowd for all of its near 2 hours. Given that there were desperately few good games on offer here though, you can't really blame them for padding it out a bit. To this very day though, it's unclear if anyone has actually managed to make it through the video in its entirety, so you're probably just better off watching one of the many cringe supercuts on YouTube. Simultaneously, the best and worst thing to come out of E3, Konami's 2010 conference, will surely be studied with stunned curiosity by ancient humans millennia from now, wondering, how do you put on such a bad marketing event with the whole world just not imploding from embarrassment as it happened? And number 1, Nappy Time, Star Ocean, The Last Hope. And finally, before our final entry, you have been warned, this is so embarrassing, there's still time to click off this video. The single most embarrassing moment in the history of this blessed medium, the Nappy Time scene from Star Ocean, The Last Hope. We've all winced at bad voice acting and creaky dialogue in countless games, but The Last Hope basically elevates this to a perverse art. It's like a video game version of The Room.
Oh, hi, Mark.
The scene in question sees protagonist Edge approach a tuckered-out Limmel and tell her to go to bed. But Limmel responds by touching Edge's arm and insisting that she wants to, take nappy time with Edgy. Ugh. And it gets even worse from there. Limmel then talks about how she used to take nappy time with her grandpa. And when FaZe also tells her to go to bed, she reiterates that she wants nappy time with her dear Edgy, before finally storming off in sulky defeat. The highly questionable dialogue and unfortunate undertones of this scene are one thing, but Limmel's tranquilized voice acting seals the deal. This is as embarrassing as video games have ever gotten, and when the cutscene finally, mercifully fades to black, you're left to stare at your own reflection for a few seconds, wondering what the hell you're doing with your precious spare time. And seriously, this part is so embarrassing, I'd be surprised if anybody got past this in the game. I immediately would just turn it off.
I want to take nappy time with you, okay?
So there you have it, the 10 most embarrassing moments in gaming. Now don't forget to comment on your pick of hidden games in other games if you've stayed around this long. And I want to say thank you for staying around this long, and I've got a little something extra for you. An interesting fact about the origins of the word embarrass and how it's linked to explorers in North America and large piles of driftwood. Now, originally, the French word embarrass signified an obstruction or impediment, much like a blockage in a river. The sense of blocking is evident in its breakdown. M and bar. The word bar means to obstruct or prevent, aligning with the concept of a blockage. This meaning is further corroborated by early European explorers in North America. When traveling by river, they encountered large piles of driftwood that blocked their passage, which they referred to as embarrass. However, the word has undergone a fascinating transformation, evolving from a physical obstruction to a state of emotional discomfort. When embarrass entered the English language, it was initially used in financial context. Individuals who lacked sufficient funds were said to be embarrassed, as their financial limitations blocked them from accomplishing their goals. Over this time, this association with financial constraints expanded to encompass broader situations of discomfort or awkwardness. Being embarrassed came to signify feeling awkward, ashamed, or put in an uncomfortable position. This evolution likely stems from the social stigma often associated with financial struggles. People with limited economic means may experience feelings of embarrassment or shame when confronted with displays of wealth and privilege. I'm Tom from FGS. I hope you've enjoyed this. Love you, and I'll see you next time.